putting this bullshit in your schools and in your military is to weaken your ass over generation and time, such as what we saw crack cocaine did to the black community, and white people should have learned from that. You was to take a bad and make a right and a positive. Because if you look at the deterioration, they're doing it to you and have been doing it to you. You just never noticed, but now they're doing it to you at an alarming rate, bold-facedly in your fucking face for the whole entire world to see, which they probably did already because people are not that stupid. And I know that as a fact. You know what I'm saying? So we see the garbage that they do. You know what I'm saying? And talking about censorship of the media, Mark Zuckerberg and all these clowns, censoring the media, saying that a lot of people it was talking and it was making other people hesitant. Wait a minute, hesitant? So you censored people's comment because you wanted to drive your agenda of your Luciferian process on people, and nobody should have nothing today. Just let me stick your ass. And y'all shut up. What kind of shit is... Now, the reason why I brought that up is because we're going to go in on this knucklehead head. Now, watch my man toss his ass up like a motherfucking chicken wing. You know what I'm saying? And show the truth of the matter in this clown motherfucker. And you say, I am science. If you're mad at me...
Are you having trouble paying for healthcare, rent, gas, groceries?
If you're mad at me, you know what I'm saying? If you're mad at me, then you're mad at science. Because I am science. Without me in the world, there would be no science. And when you accuse me of doing wrong, the only answer I have is, I've never seen it before. What? Bald-headed motherfucking lies. Put there. They know what they're doing. They ain't no lies. You can accuse them of all the stories you want to. It ain't no lies. You know what I'm saying?
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to all of the nominees. Judge Mahalchek, you remember a case called Yenser v. Potter County?
I have a recollection that I presided over that case. I don't know if I recall.
That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. It's supposed to be this one. I don't know what happened there. They must have tried to take this one down because, my man, Ron Paul, don't be playing with him. Ron Paul be digging all up in their behind. So I think this is it here.
I now recognize Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Walensky, you're coming to the end of your tenure as the CDC director, which you started in January of 2021. And we heard you say today that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. But what I'd like to talk to you today about is the 1.5 million VAERS reports that also reported 35,000 deaths associated with the COVID-19 vaccine. And this has been what many Americans feel like a largely ignored issue. They feel like the CDC has completely ignored the reports. They feel like you, as the CDC director, have completely ignored their reports. And I'd like to talk about that.
This is the same thing that Anthony Fauci did when AIDS came out. You know what I'm saying? And trying to act as if he had nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? And when the reports came out about what was going on, that it's sexual transmission, how you can't... So you telling me that the people caught floating in the air is sexual transmitted disease? How did the disease... So they didn't have no explanation as to where the disease came from. So the first thing everybody does, and especially Demon Democrats do, is they found the scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? As young Pharaoh explained in his podcast when he was around. You know what I'm saying? But I knew that. Me and Pharaoh might have been one of the people who was studying. I don't know how old Pharaoh is. I'm almost 60 years old. You know what I'm saying? I'm 59. But I don't know how old Pharaoh is when he started doing the studies or whatever he was doing. But I knew about that back then because when it came out, I was around. So when I seen it came out, I knew right off the top that that was something that came from them systematically. It couldn't have come out of nowhere. So one of the first things they did is they found a scapegoat and probably said gays. You know, it was all about gays, singers, actors, and these different rich people doing gay shit. Liberace, you know, Errol Flynn, all that. Okay, but then it kept on going and going and going. So it couldn't have jumped out of nowhere. So once that didn't work, the first thing they did was they started saying and spreading the lie that it came from Africa, from black people eating monkeys, and they got the SV virus and the SZZ virus and the virus ZZ virus, which is bullshit. Because even eating a monkey, you wouldn't get that. You know what I'm saying? Period. So that was one of the lies that they spread all across America, even in the black and white community especially. You know what I'm saying? And the white was going around talking about this SB and they ate the monkeys and they got the virus and then they started spreading it and all that to put the blame on black people. You know what I'm saying? And then when that didn't really work because all of that was proven and washed out as they do the same with coronavirus here, you know what I'm saying? As you see Marjorie Taylor Greene going in on his head about the same thing. This is the same scenario. That's why they had to firebomb, you know, Anthony Fauci in NIAID laboratory. The NIAID laboratory, NAIDS. Take away the N and the I and tell me what you have. You know what I'm saying? In the word. Look at the word NAIDS, spell it for yourself, and then remove the beginning two letters and tell me what you have. So we know that he's the one that orchestrated that. Even Will Smith said it. You know what I'm saying? And then Barbara Walters was up there talking about, I think it was Barbara Walters talking about, oh, well, why would you say that it came from a laboratory? You know what I'm saying? Well, apparently he knew. You know what I'm saying? So, boom. You know what I mean? Let's just be real. You know what I'm saying? Now watch Marjorie Taylor Greene saying the same thing that happened and the same groove.
A little bit. In 2020, it was late 2020 when Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine was approved, and there were COVID-19 vaccines were the second highest reported. That was over 10,000. But in 2021, when vaccines were mandated, it was a federal mandate in September 9th of 2021. Federal employees and contractors were required. 90% of the 3.5 million people employed or contracted under the federal government got at least one dose of the vaccine. Vaccine cards were widely required in Democrat-run cities all over the country, basically to become a member of society. And in 2021, COVID-19 reports skyrocketed to number one at 728,829 reports. Second was the zoster shingles vaccine at just over 14,000. That's a massive number. And the numbers kept growing and growing and growing on the VAERS report. I'd also like to talk to you about how much money the American taxpayers were forced to pay Pfizer and Moderna for vaccines. The government paid Pfizer and Moderna in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Pfizer received $15.27 billion. Moderna received $9.99 billion. And boy, did they get a return on the American taxpayers' investment.
Wow.
Because Pfizer, amazingly, in 2022, got a 23% increase. But in 2021, they doubled their income.
Wow.
Doubled their income at a 95% increase in revenue. That's absolutely impressive thanks to the American people. But it was Moderna's whose numbers were astounding. Moderna increased their revenue in 2020, had a 1,238% increase in revenue.
Wow.
In 2021, They got a 2,200% increase in revenue thanks to the American taxpayer, where money got funded into these big pharmaceutical companies for these vaccines. It's quite impressive, though, that Pfizer worldwide went from at $190 billion right there towards the beginning of 2021 and skyrocketed at the end of 2021 to $330 billion worldwide. That's quite impressive, thanks to the American taxpayer and thanks to the CDC director, Dr. Walensky, who said that vaccines were safe and effective. I'd also like to talk to you on behalf of all the pregnant women, not people, as you call them. To quote you on August 11th, 2021, CDC encourages all pregnant people, it's women, by the way, who are thinking about becoming pregnant and those breastfeeding to get vaccinated to protect themselves from COVID-19. This has also been ignored. The amount of miscarriages and stillbirths that increased drastically due to your advice to get vaccinated. Pregnant women again, not people. And then we could go on and on about the tragic stories of myocarditis and many other things. But my question for you today, Dr. Walensky, is now that you're going to be leaving the CDC pretty soon, what job are you going to take? Are you going to be on the board of either Pfizer or Moderna? Because you've done one hell of a job in making sure that they've made a lot of money. And I yield back.
Thank you for that question. Maybe first I will comment that CDC is not responsible for the purchase of vaccines, so I can't speak to all of the economics that you spoke.
She's lying.
I do want to talk a minute about the vaccine adverse event reporting system. So that system is intended for any person who has gotten a vaccine, if they have an untoward event after that vaccine, whether or not is related to the vaccine, they report. It is intended to have an over-reporting.
She's
all
lying.
of the not all. Most of the vaccines that were being given, I remember we gave 676 million doses of the vaccine. Any adverse event, if you got hit by a truck after you got your vaccine, that was reported to the vaccine adverse event reporting system.
She's lying.
We at CDC have a responsibility to comb through every single one of them, to review the medical reports and to see if they are related. It is the case that the vaccine doesn't prevent being hit.
Ms. Walensky, I'll reclaim my time. You did nothing about that and continue to push vaccines.
Thank you.
That's what the American people care about.
We review all of the things that come into the vaccine adverse event reporting system. I'd be happy to have our staff on the.
I don't want my staff educated. You should educate the American people about what you've done of 1.5 million reports, because they feel like you've done nothing and continue to say safe and effective.
Maybe I will just close by saying I don't have plans after I.
Lewinsky ain't nothing but a crook from the old motherfucking book. She's no more than a Luciferian blood-sucking idiot. Let's just be honest. You see what I'm saying? Let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? She's a blood-sucking wannabe. You know what I'm saying? Follow fashion. Blood-sucking, vampire, Luciferian, whatever the fuck you want to call them, paternal order, or whatever. That's what she is. You know what I'm saying? She's dancing around, trying to make all excuses. I told you, after the damage is done, they're gonna dance around. Didn't I tell you that? I said once all this has come to a certain point, it's all gonna come out. What you're gonna see. And look what happened. Exactly that. You know what I'm saying? But they talking about Donald Trump and all type of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? All type of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But talking about Donald Trump, a 4-year president, who Anthony Fauci and the people of the United States, you know what I'm saying, really forced this man's hand to actually promote this virus. I mean, promote the treatment, you know what I'm saying, so that they could have their field day.
Online by introducing the Free Speech Protection Act, which would prohibit federal employees and contractors from using their positions to censor and otherwise attack speech that is protected by the First Amendment. Senator Paul joins us now to tell us more about this bill. Welcome back to Rising, Senator.
Thanks for having me.
So, so many people who are understandably frustrated with social media censorship, focus on what Facebook has done wrong, what Twitter has done wrong, what YouTube has done wrong, without getting at the fundamental underlying issues of how government actors pushed these choices on these companies. Why don't you tell us more about your approach?
Well, I think it's important that we examine this because we don't want to react just because we're angry. So I'm unhappy with YouTube because they took down a speech that I made on the floor of the Senate. They've taken down speeches where I've said that the masks don't have a health benefit.
Now, this is a Senator Ron Paul, MD. And Facebook and YouTube that I'm on, and I put my videos as well, been taking down mine, his, and everybody else. Censoring the truth as to the Luciferian, blood-sucking, killing machine of the demon blood-clad Democrats. And the government, inside the government, that we know goes all the way to all these elites and groups and secret society and all, called the deep state in one bunch. The people must stand up. If you notice, Marjorie Taylor Greene mentioned figures. Any of that money, all of that money, did not go to American people. It went to foreign companies and companies probably outside that had affiliation outside of our country, all to bring in this here into the matter of the people. Now, we don't know now what the effects and the long-term damage and how many it going to drop like a fly. But people still went out, did not listen, and voted for creepy ass Joe Biden when you had a choice to make. You know what I'm saying? This seems to have I don't believe in the Bible, but their Bible speaking has the biblical effect as to the choice they made when it came to Donald Trump and creep Joe Biden. One is going to be hated to the top of the core. The other one would be exonerated, and that would be the one that would bring hellfire and the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse upon your shoulders.
But I don't really have a right under the First Amendment to tell YouTube they have to show my speech. I do, however, believe that the government's interaction with YouTube or the government's interaction with Twitter can be regulated. So private entities have the ability to interview me, not interview me, edit me, not put me on there. That is a prerogative of the private entity. But I don't believe that the FBI should be meeting with Twitter and saying to Twitter, well, we'd like you to take this information down because we don't like this information. We think it's consistent with your content moderation rules. And Twitter looks at them and says, wow, that'll be a lot of work. Will you pay us? And they said, yeah, we'll give you $3 million to take down this information. And it's like, if that is not an anathema to the First Amendment, I don't know what is. And the First Amendment says Congress shall not do certain things. And so the government, the First Amendment is about preventing the government from doing things. So I think we have every right, and it's part of our role, to say to the FBI or to the Department of Homeland Security, you cannot go meet with people to try to influence constitutionally protected speech. And the way I try to get people to think about this is, imagine in your newsroom that after this interview, the FBI comes in, they're armed, they don't draw their weapons, they don't threaten you, but they are armed, and they sit down with you and they say, well, we're concerned about his response to this, and we think it's disinformation, so we'd prefer that you edit that part of the interview out. Can you imagine how offended you would be, or how offended most newsrooms anywhere in the country would be? We should have the same sort of degree of offense that the FBI is sitting down in the room every week. They've been meeting every week with Facebook. And what it has led to, Zuckerberg has admitted that the FBI came to him and said, the Hunter Biden, laptop is a Russian plant, and you shouldn't let it be broadcast through Facebook, so downgrade it, and he did. But it turned out it is actually true. And so we can't really let the government get into this idea of deciding what is true, what is false, what is misinformation, what is disinformation. But they're heavily invested in this. And I think the country needs to have this debate.
Heavily invested.
The sad thing is the left used to be very good at the First Amendment, but now because they see people on the right they don't like and they don't like their speech, they're actually for going ahead and regulating the speech if it's speech they don't like.
So you.
All right. And there you have it from the great Ron Paul. You tell me, this is going on too far. Now we see a multiple decade of many different things. Now they putting it on the internet, talking about multiple decade of secret UFO programs in the USA. We knew that already. We don't even have to go down the road with that. And we don't have to talk too much on that. We should already know that they did that. That's how we look at all the technology and the different things that they're doing. You know what I'm saying? We know there's some form of contact and probably even infiltration into the United States government, as many of these people look like who they are, but they're not. But we're not going to go down the road with that because they like to come see you when you start talking and bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But we know full well, and you don't have to tell us, you know what I'm saying? We don't have to expose anything because it's already been exposed, and we know full well that has been going on. I'm here to tell you, point blank to tell you, it's been going on quite a long time. So don't be surprised and shocked at anything. Then I don't think you can shock us anymore because the garbage in which they've been doing clearly shows that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? In itself. You know what I'm saying? In itself. We know full well what you were doing. Now, there's another individual, I think Pharaoh, went on his head not too long ago. You know what I'm saying? Went on her head not too long ago. You know what I'm saying? And now we see Mel Gibson is bringing it up. You know what I'm saying? And this is, I'll put it to you this way. I never liked the person. This black ass idiot. I've never cared for her. Don't tell me nothing about no godness in her. You know what I'm saying? The only godness in her is hell. And whatever hell she follows, because I don't believe in her bullshit anyway.
The world has
I don't
been
believe
nothing
I don't believe in her bullshit anyway. But you know what I'm saying, now we see Mel Gibson speaks out on Oprah crooked ass. Now, I'm gonna say this right here. I never liked you. I don't give a fuck how much money you got. Oprah nutcase, black ass nigga, fucking sellout slave master bullshit. Following behind the slave master, licking their balls and doing their bidding to your own fucking people. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't do it to them probably. You know what I'm saying? They'll get on your ass about that. So you went into Africa to do it to them. Your own people. Yeah, talking, you garbage. And I'm going to tell you like this over nutcase ass Winfrey. I never liked you. Ever liked you. Let's just be honest. I never liked you. You understand? Because I saw from the very beginning what you were doing to the world and your influence that you were bringing in to the world, you know what I'm saying, as to, the garbage that you were doing. The garbage that you were doing. Men bashing, especially black men, you know what I'm saying, men bashing, doing anything and disgracing yourself as a black woman to get ratings. You know what I'm saying? Every time you have your little stupid ass, the Oprah Winfrey nutcase, I never liked your fucking show. It was garbage then, just like it was garbage now. And I don't see why people are putting so much interest in hopeful as you being some inspiration for black women. You never was no inspiration for no black, and you're not an example. I don't know who told you that, but I never cared for your show. Your show was garbage, like I said, and all it did was men bash. Everybody knows that, and everybody saw that because you figured that would get you ratings if you sit up there and bash men and so on. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, did many know that something didn't seem right with you, and it still doesn't today. So let's see what Mel Gibson has to say. Yeah, so now we're going to take a look at this situation for what it is. And let's take a look at this one. This is highly important that we understand what it is we're dealing with. And this is Mel Gibson going in on it.
The film Sound of Freedom, and boy, oh boy, he didn't hold back.
Number one fear is public humiliation. Okay.
From uncovering what the elites are doing to their involvement in nasty businesses, Mel is ready to tell it all.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
But wait, there's more, because aside from this, another famous name was caught in the middle of this scandal, and you'll be shocked once you find out who this person is. So what exactly did Mel say? Let's find out. While Hollywood is notably one of the most controversial industries ever, surprises sometimes come and go. This time, the surprise was in the form of a movie, and little did we know, this movie would soon open our eyes to the truth and what exactly is happening behind the camera. The movie I'm referring to is called Sound of Freedom, directed and co-written by Alejandro Monteverde, starring Jim Caviezel, Mira Sorvino.
I advise a lot of people to promote that film, push that film, and get it out there. Take a good look at that film as well, because this is something that has been going on. They can't tell us it ain't, because I'm gonna tell you how I know. If you go back to, I would say maybe the 70s, the early 70s, you had a lot of films that came out. You know, one of them I think was don't quote me on it, because when people say it of this generation or a few generations, they might be thinking about a different movie using the same name. But I think there was a movie, I think it starred, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure who the lady was that starred in the movie as a black woman. I'm wondering if it was, I don't know if it was Diana Ross. I'm not really sure who it was, but in the movie, it showed, I think it might have been Black Starlet or some kind of movie like that with a name like that. But what the movie was about was this black woman was trying to get into the Hollywood game and so forth and so on. And every single producer that was introduced to her all wanted to just sex her. If she wants to part in a movie, they sex her. If they want, if she wants to promote something or do this or get this, and every single producer, you got this producer, that producer, this producer, and all you want. If he don't get what he want from her, she ain't gonna produce her. Then there was another movie that came in with a white lady who went through the same exact thing, but the difference with her is, you know what I'm saying, in the Black Starlet movie, the black guy that was in Hollywood, he was trying to straighten her and get her out of that type of life, and he really liked her and so forth and so on. And I'm telling you, every producer, you should have seen what they were doing to her. Every time you turn around, her clothes is off, tied up on her stomach, and he in her butt, carrying on just to give her her part in whatever part of the actress was. Then there was another white lady who did the same thing, but there was a guy in this film who really cared about her white guy, and he told her that, you know, one day you will respect somebody and so on, because I think she laughed at him because he was a little impotent with his sexual behavior. But in the end, she went on the podium, I think at the Oscars, and she revealed the whole thing about Hollywood and the whole thing about what they do to you when you try to make it there, and so on and so on, how they're going to use you, you know, do every sexual thing they can to you, all this and the third and fourth. So this is not new. This is not new, because I was watching those type of documentaries and movies back then, and I was paying attention to that as to why you would have to go through. It's the same thing you saw when a lot of girls years ago would look at the X-rated movies and shit and want to do that kind of sexual thing. They wish they could live that type of life and be, you know, in X-rated movies and having sex and having fun and just enjoying and pleasure and ecstasy bursting through their veins. You know what I'm saying? And then when they go there, they end up with a pimp, a pusher, or some crazy person or some shit. Many girls took missing in that type of vibe and so forth on, because a lot of people don't want to take the sexual content and put it in its rightful place. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we're going to have to start to look at these things, because somewhere along the line, it's leading where we know it's always been outside the boundaries of it all. So let's continue.
And Bill Camp. And just like the title suggests, it has a very strong message. Its message is to increase awareness about the concerning issue of child trade and how children are still in great peril and being dragged around by unsavory adults. Most fear.
Now imagine that. Again, what is up with the children? What kind of mind frame and people will do this type of shit to children? And then sit up in your face, in your government, as your leader, as your president, as your chief and commander, and not do anything about it, but have one of the most powerful militaries this side of Mexico.
We're thinking this film will be promoted around the world because of the important message it's trying to convey. Well, guess what? It's the total opposite, and the lack of media attention is sickening and at the same time concerning. However, there's a very obvious reason why the elites are making sure this movie is dragged under the rug. It's mainly because they don't want people to know the fishy stuff they're doing. And since this movie is precisely going over the dark truth in the industry, influential people are pulling the strings to stop it from reaching a wider audience.
Imagine that. They're trying to stop it from reaching a wider audience. Imagine that. You know, they're so-called...
I don't know why every family in America hasn't claimed this yet.
They're so-called, elites. This is a secret societies and the different groups and the different people in our government who worship Baphomet. Let's just be honest. They don't give a flying fuck about human life or even life itself as a whole. You see what I'm saying? They don't. What do they care about life? You tell me.
It turns out the plot is spot on, and the elites are upset. The movie is based on the true story of Tim Ballard, a former special agent for the Department of Homeland Security who has dedicated his life to combating serious cases involving taking advantage of children, and who took his cause private by founding Operation Underground Railroad with support from Glenn Beck. On top of this, the movie occasionally overflows with a Christian undercurrent, like when Ballard says, because God's children are not for sale, when explaining why he's so passionate about getting rid of the crime involving children. So you can say that the movie is somehow an advocacy effort, as well as to help shed light on this issue and hopefully eradicate these social problems. However, despite the importance and significance of the topic, major streaming sites like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon decided to skip it and didn't open their platforms for the movie. It was surprising, to say the least, because these platforms have always been very supportive of these causes.
And if they dodge in this one, people need to start to boycott. See, this is what people got to understand. When it comes to their money and the money that they're making, you got to learn to cut it off from private companies. If they don't support the honesty, they don't support, protecting children, they don't support the films that come out that exposes this shit and all types of shit, cut those companies off. You know what I'm saying? Make their pockets hurt and bend them up. This is the power of the people. You see, but we have too many people who can't even get together enough to even think of a greasy spoon.
So why did they refuse the Sound of Freedom? To make things more suspicious, big names in the industry who have always been vocal about causes like this have been eerily silent about the movie and the issues surrounding it. And as a result, it seems like Hollywood has collectively decided to turn a blind eye to very important social issues that's going on in its industry. But wait, there is more, because the controversy does not end there. We're only at the tip of the iceberg, because more dirt about these alleged industry elites is coming out of the bag. For those who don't know, Sound of Freedom was initially under Disney, but House of Mouse suddenly scrapped the project, and people were confused as to why. Rumor has it that there's actually so much more behind the sudden rejection and the fact that
Disney. Huh? Disney. Disney. I think I forgot who it is, what senator was on Disney head, and they're going back. I think Ron DeSantis or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But you faulting Ron DeSantis in all kinds of ways from him doing this and doing that, and I guess bringing up all kinds of controversy, saying about racism and all kinds of shit. Well, one thing, Ron DeSantis dead on their motherfucking head. You know what I'm saying? Now, at the same time, why would Disney scrap this program? But, oh yeah, when the football game is over, I'm going to Disney. Grown-ass men running behind an imaginary fantasy land bullshit, imaginary rodent who's richer than everybody else in this world. You know what I'm saying? How long and how much money did Mickey Mouse and Minnie and them make based on them characters? They're richer than the fucking regular people who are here taking up the garbage. Fuck out of here.
the movie's not getting any promotion, despite how star-studded the cast is. One of the alleged reasons is that these platforms deliberately turn a blind eye in order to prevent the issue relating to child trade from reaching a global audience, and to protect the elites who are pulling the strings. Mel Gibson actually hinted about these industry elites way back in 1998, and after Sound of Music premiered, fans started to connect the dots.
I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
On top of that, there are two kinds of elites. One of them is called the Good Club. According to The Guardian, this exclusive group is made up of billionaire philanthropists who regularly hold meetings to discuss matters they deem important.
Oh. There go the name. Philanthropists. Philanthropists. Made up of rich people who call themselves philanthropists, who goes around using their money to manipulate and do chaotic Luciferian blood-sucking bullshit. Notice who else is in the Good Club. Let's listen.
Some of the people included in this Good Club are Bill Gates, George Soros, Ted Turner, and Oprah Winfrey. Speaking of Oprah...
Mr. COVID-19, creator and producer of this and the promoter of it in the COVID-19, is a part of the Good Club, sex trafficking and carrying on and doing Luciferian bullshit, clothing with black ass nigga up in the group. But he cares so much about you, George Soros. Another. This is the name they use to go and influence our government. You know what I'm saying? Because these are the people that's inside our government, that are not the government, but inside our government with this and bullshit that are going on. Now listen more. Let's listen even more.
She's known as an icon, billionaire, and philanthropist.
Billionaire.
But it seems like there's a side to Oprah that she'd rather keep behind closed doors. And you'll be in shock.
And I don't give a fuck if Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire. She's a shithead. You know what I'm saying? She needs to take her billions, pack her shit up, get the fuck up out of America, and never bring your black ass back here again. Don't go to Africa. Get out of Africa, get that school shut down, and put a proper school there by someone else. Because we sure don't need your slave mastering, ball sucking, crackalistic, acting ass in our world.
What Mel Gibson has revealed about her and the other elites in Hollywood, and how far they'll go to trap these innocent kids.
Listen.
While Mel in the movie never really named Oprah, the host's connection with Harvey Weinstein is undeniable. Harvey never had the best reputation when it comes to his work ethic and how he treated young kids. However, despite all of this, Oprah remained very good friends with him, which is one of the many red flags about her. On top of this, reports even suggested that Oprah would encourage, if not enforce, other actors to work with Harvey, which started the accusations that she was part of Harvey's illicit behavior when it came to his co-workers. If you think about it, these allegations are completely